Hello, I'm Philip Cortez. I'm in 8th grade and in AVID. Mr. Lewis, clearly you are a very successful person, and I wanted to ask you if there was a lot of stress, and if so, what made you keep trying?
Yeah. That's a great question, Philip.
Thank you.
There was a lot of stress along the way, and there continues to be a lot of stress. And I think it's important to know a couple things about stress. There's an old song that people my mom's age listen to that suggests that this idea of trouble won't always last. And I'm a testament to that. Like, you will have stress, but it does dissipate if you just keep pushing. So yes. But your question was, how did I make it through the stress? Is that what you said? I think keeping your eyes on the goal is a really big thing. So say you want to be a rocket scientist. There are a number of exams that are very difficult to get ready for on the way to attaining a PhD in the type of physics that you need to be a rocket scientist. But consider the alternative of not pushing through the stress. Say you know what, this test in nuclear physics is too hard. I don't want to take that. Then what happens? You don't get to the end goal, right? Philip, you get one life to live. And I suggest that the life that you have, you need to do the very best with it that you can. And that, in and of itself, suggests that whatever it is you have to go through to get the things that you want, to get the things that you feel like you're here to be and to do, is worth it. So there will certainly be stress. There will be those people that run over you, like I talked about. But the alternative of not either pushing through your goal or giving yourself a shot at those goals is far more painful to deal with than the stress that it takes you to get there. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. I don't have a particular order, so however you guys want to.
They have their assignment.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Mr. Lewis, thank you so much for coming.
Sure.
My name is Ethan, and my question is, do you recommend any good colleges I could someday go to?
Yeah, I certainly would recommend Howard University to you. That's a good school in Washington, D.C. Here's the truth of the matter, though. We get real excited about name brands, you know. We get excited about places like Howard. We get excited about places like Harvard. But, you know, the person that is probably most responsible for my academic understanding is my mom. And my mom went to a place called Tougaloo College in Mississippi. Anybody heard Tougaloo before? Oh, okay. Well, that's more than I expected, so you've heard of that. And then she went to UNT. And some folks may not celebrate these schools, but these are fantastic schools. And if you look at what I have done, what my sister has done, she has actually she has earned her PhD. It's a person that went to these places like Tougaloo and UNT, and even spent some time at Tarrant County Community College that actually molded me into what I am. So the colleges I would recommend to you are, don't underestimate any of the things in this area, but don't be afraid to dream about places like Rice. Don't be afraid to dream about places like Harvard and Yale and Stanford. I don't think that you should put limits on yourself for any reason. What do you think you might want to be when you grow up, that you might want to study?
I was actually thinking of being a doctor someday.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you don't want to leave Texas, I'd say TCU would be a great option. SMU is a good place to think about. Rice in Houston, particularly if you're not sure if you want to be a doctor on the physician side or maybe someone in the biochemical space. And then certainly all the traditional schools you hear so much about, like the Ivy League places. You should not take anything off of your list. And if you'd like, I'd be happy to talk with you specifically about places and schools you could look at. But the world is literally your oyster. So those are just a few options for you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good morning, Mr. Lewis.
Good morning.
My name's Delilah, and my question for you is, what was your GPA at the end of high school to get into Harvard?
Okay, so what was my GPA in high school? And I just want to make sure you appreciate, I went from high school to Howard to Harvard. Okay, so 107.21, right, Mom? Yeah. My sister was 107.11, and I beat her. So that's what it was. I was a 107.21 at the end of Haltom. Then I had a 4.0 on a 4.0 scale at the end of Howard. Those are my grades. I want to say something, though. Particularly in this space of how do I get into a good school, numbers are important. Grades are certainly important. But what I know from having been sort of an admission advisor at Harvard is that people really are looking for full stories. So I think my grades certainly helped, but I am more than my test scores. I am more than my GPA. I am all the things that I've talked to you about. And so when you're applying to schools, you aren't just throwing these papers out there and saying yes or no. You're writing essays. In some cases, you're having phone interviews. Like in the case of Harvard, for example, if you want to go to Harvard for undergrad, either my wife or I might be a person that would interview you, because if you are from the Dallas area and you want to go to Harvard, alums of Harvard actually interview candidates. And so you come down to Dallas, you come to my law school office on a Saturday, and we sit down and we talk with you, and we're trying to figure out a couple things. One, we have your grades, we have your test scores. We want to figure out a couple things. One, are you the type of person that can enrich the classroom environment? So can you put something in there that might make school a richer experience for your peers? And then two, are we the type of place that's going to help you really experience your full potential? So the grades things are important, but I want to make sure you know that there's more to you than your grades, and schools are certainly looking at those things as well. And so the admissions context is a real opportunity for you to put a lot of things out there that tells your story. It's a sales job. It's not just your grades and tests.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Delilah.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Lewis. Thank you for coming speaking to us today. My name is Anthony Wynn, and my question for you is, how difficult was it to get your degree? I'll
answer for both of them. Truthfully, the law degree was more difficult than the bachelor's, but I'll talk about the bachelor's first. So in college, what you're really doing is you're picking what you want to study. And so sometimes it can take you a year or two to figure out what you want your major to be. And truthfully, the experience of difficulty can be based upon what you study. It's probably more difficult to get a degree in chemistry than it is in radio, TV, and film. Either of those are equally important, and you should do the thing that you want to do, but sometimes the difficulty is based on what you want to study. I studied political science and economics in undergrad, and I think those are very difficult majors, particularly at a place like Howard that has a strong and proud history of putting people in the world to, one of our alums is a guy named Ralph Bunche who negotiated the 1940-something accord between Israeli and Palestinian authorities. And so when you come from that type of tradition, people take that type of work really seriously. And I was in the honors college, which means it's ratcheted up a level. So because I was studying something that I was passionate about, Anthony, it was a little bit easier for me than I think it might have been for other folks, but it was very challenging. And I think it's important when you pick what you want to study in school that you don't go to college just to go to college. Like, going to college is the right thing to do, but use those 4 years to really expand your mind and get into something that's important to you. And I think that is what makes the otherwise difficult experience of getting a bachelor's degree a little bit easier when you have a chance to be passionate about what you're studying. In the law degree context, it's very different. Law school is really hard, and Harvard is about as hard as law school can get. I'll hold on for the bell. Oh, is that it?
And then we'll have in the hallway, and then we'll have, is there a warning bell? We don't hear bells. Okay, so we'll hear a couple more bells in about 4 minutes.
Okay, great. But to get to the point, law school is very difficult, and it is not insurmountable. But it's difficult because at some point, hopefully none of you need lawyers, but at some point you may need a lawyer, especially if you start a business and you're doing something that's sort of high-octane work. And you want to make sure that the people that you're hiring and paying a lot of money to do that are very well trained. So that's why law school is difficult. Both of these things were difficult, but both are worth the exercise, and it becomes less difficult the more you care about what it is that you're studying. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Thanks for coming. I am Anastasia Lee, and my question for you is, what role did your family play in helping you get into Harvard?
Yeah. So what role did my family play helping me get into Harvard? An incredibly important role. I asked my mom to throw me a party. So I don't like to celebrate birthdays and stuff like that, but I said to her, if I get into Harvard, and Miss Kissel was there, if I get into Harvard, just throw me a party and I'm going away or whatever. But the whole reason why I wanted her to throw that party is so I could thank them. Because there are so many things between Hardeman and the day that I started Harvard that you have to go through to get to that point. And my mom, my dad, my sisters were there every step of the way. I think you need emotional support. I think you need to call on people's experience. And I was really blessed to have a mother and a father and sister who had gone through college already and had gone through the idea of just generally higher education. And I think the other big thing is it's a difficult and long road. I was your age when I probably said to my mom for the first time, I want to do that Harvard thing. And there are just so many places, so many peaks and valleys in between that. And so knowing that you can have people that you can fall back or forward or left or right on, which is what my family was for me, was absolutely imperative and 100% critical in me getting into Harvard. So, and included in that is friends as well, right? I know everyone's family structures are different, and I say that the general idea and teachers can be a really big part of that community as well. Miss Kissel, who never even taught me, but her son and I have just been going to school together since kindergarten, is a really important part of that community as well. So your friends, your family, your teachers, your counselors, your administrators, I had all those people rallying around me from day one up until the day I walked onto Harvard's campus.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anastasia.